A girl getting a divorce as a Arab Middle Eastern girl, it's hard. It's hard to have that title. Whereas guys, it's just easier. It's if they were to get a divorce, it's easier to pick yourself back up and go online and get to know women on the internet or in person.
Welcome to another episode of Yalla Let's Talk, the podcast that's going to help you figure things out by people who are still trying to figure things out. Today we got with us none other than Maya Hussein. Woo! Miss Hussein is an awesome content creator. You definitely would know her from TikTok, from Instagram Reels, and she is with us today. And we are very lucky and blessed to have you. So thank you so much, Maya, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I love your studio. I'm so proud of you, Hani.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. You guys are so kind. And I really can't stress this enough. For people who haven't had the opportunity to meet Maya in person, I can't stress enough that she is one of the most humble and genuine. And I'm just gonna give you all these good words, all these wholesome vibes, because I truly do mean it. It's very rare when you meet someone, you're like, you know what, I really like this person's energy and you're real. You're the same as you are in your IG lives as you are in person. I think that's really cool.
Thank you. I like to stay the same. I don't want to be something I'm not. And I have to say, Hani, you are an amazing, too kind. He's such a good person, and you're very gentle. You're very calm. You relax. You make me calm down. You calm me down.
This podcast is going to be both of us just throwing compliments at one another. I love it. Yo, likewise, Ajad. So the first question I have for you, Maya, is that have you always liked acting and creating skits, even as a child?
No.
Really? So how did that interest emerge?
I used to watch a lot of Arabic TV shows growing up. And I said this on other conversations I've had with, I was on MTV Lebanon and Al Jadid and stuff.
That's amazing.
And I told them that I used to watch a show called Jamilu Hana, and I used to watch Saban Jum. And these are all comedic shows, but they're all within, it's about their families. They're all living in the same house. And for me, growing up, I did live with all my family. My parents, my aunts, my uncles, my grandmas, we all lived in the same house. It was like the Arab full house, you know what I mean? And growing up, because I saw how they were acting, their mannerism, how it was. And that's how I speak good Arabic, because they lived with me, and that's all they spoke.
And you were born in Canada?
Yes, I was born in Windsor, Ontario.
Wow.
Yeah. And growing up, when I was young, I was quiet. A lot of people don't know that. But growing up, I started to get more active with my social life and stuff. But every time we had a sahara, a gathering with our families and friends and stuff, people told me I was very good at imitating certain people or certain situations. But I never thought I would take that into acting or anything like that. Right before COVID hit, months and months before, I made a character on Instagram called Ahoui Ma Georgette. And it was just a filter from Snapchat of an old lady, and I called her Georgette. And I'll be like, Marhaba ya jama'a, Georgette makun, right? And I would do videos like I am doing now, but they were not as good as I am doing them now. And people loved it. They were entertained. And then when I quit my job at the gym and got into, and then I heard about TikTok, I was like, let's try doing that and see what people, because I started seeing other people doing it.
So I love so many different things with what you just said. Number one, you just started putting yourself out there. Mm-hmm. It was under a Snapchat filter.
Yeah.
So people didn't even know it was Maya, but it was one way for you to just get started and do something and put yourself out there and see the audience and how they react.
Yeah.
So when it comes to your TikTok and your content creation, a lot of it happens to be inspired from the Arab culture. Right. Why did you pick that angle? Why that content?
A lot of my friends call me a fob.
Okay.
Fresh off the boat, like I'm always speaking Arabic at home, and I like to speak Arabic outside of my house too with my friends. I like to keep the language going. Even if they answer to me in English, I answer in Arabic sometimes, you know? I used to watch Turkish shows in front of my friends. They're like, "What the heck are you doing? We're all having fun here and you're watching Turkish." It was just like that's how I've been, is just a big fob. And like I said, like growing up watching those TV shows and seeing that, okay, well, the things that they're doing on the TV show is like the same thing as how we lived our life, right? And I look back at that and, you know, looking at other people's TikToks, I was like, okay, so if people are doing Arab skits, and I have so many ideas. When I saw the one idea the first time, I was like, things were popping up in my head. I'm like, I can do this, I could do that, I could do this. So that's how it happened during the pandemic. It's just like I threw one Arabic video like of my dad, and it blew up because I realized I'm like, all Arab dads do this: put their hands behind their back and walk and look at a tree.
Yo, I do this too, and I'm not even an Arab dad, but I'm not a dad.
Yeah.
So I hear
yeah.
you.
So
We're morphing into our fathers.
Everybody's doing it now. So it's relatable for the older people and the young people. So that's how I kind of started. And
I love that.
And I love it, and I have fun with it. Now, all my videos I'm speaking Arabic, but I do translate all my videos.
And I appreciate that about what you're doing, because you're making it accessible for everybody. So not just people who can speak Arabic, but anyone who really can enjoy your content.
Too.
Yeah.
Italians, Portuguese people, they love they follow me and they love my content because it's so relatable. We all live the same life, whether you're Arab or not.
It's like an ethnic thing, right?
Yeah. I know I put when Arabs do this and whatnot. It's just because I'm just saying, because I don't know.
Because those are your lived experiences as well.
Exactly. I don't know. I didn't realize that people live the same life until I started posting on TikTok, and they're like, I'm Bosnian and I'm Italian and I'm German, and I'm like, we do the same thing at home. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, that's crazy.
There's a lot more that we have in common than we think.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the content that you're creating, what I love about it is you're breaking so many stereotypes, Maya. You really are. And but at the same time, some people can ask, like, you feel like you are reinforcing some stereotypes in the content that you're creating.
I'm not trying to reinforce those types of stereotypes where like the hitting and whatnot, but it's something that I grew up in, and I think a lot of us did. And looking back, yeah, I was emotional and I was upset, but growing up, it's like, man, when you realize what our parents went through raising us, and how, you know, like, it's like, how do you, they didn't know how to discipline. This is how they understood to discipline kids and whatnot. So it's not me trying to expose it in a bad way, but more so as a memorable thing we all went through that's bringing us together now. And all these things that happened in our home is not happening now.
What's something that people don't necessarily know about you and that you want to share for today?
I was married before for a couple of years, and this was 7 years ago. And I am now, well, I've been divorced now. So that's something that I did share, and it felt good sharing it, to be honest with you, because I was just trying to put a message out for all the people around the world that might be dealing with the same thing that I dealt with. And it's shocking for an Arab woman to talk about an experience like that, because it's not something you should be talking about in public. You should keep it to yourself as Arabs. You don't ever hear people posting it on the internet. My ex did this or this happened, and they exposed this person. You know, it is something that I felt good, because I wasn't speaking about just myself. I was speaking on behalf of other women.
I love the fact that that it wasn't just about you wanting to share it, but you wanted to actually just also help others relate.
Yeah, because I didn't want it to be like it's something that I'm still feeling or whatnot, or I'm down. No, I'm in the best place in my life now. But it's more so that I'm still hearing these things happening in a relationship, that people just need to know that it's okay to leave if you're in a dangerous or upsetting relationship if you're not happy, you know what I mean?
What were the signs for you in that relationship? Like the red flags when you were like, you know what, this is not a healthy relationship.
There was definitely red flags all the time.
Oh yeah, okay.
And mostly when we were married. Now, when I was in a long distance relationship with him, so you really don't know somebody until you get married to them. And you start to promise things before marriage that it's going to be better when we're living together. It's going to be like this. And then you just rely on that because you do love that person. And you dream to have these things in a relationship where there's going to be respect and trust and love and whatnot.
I think it's like they say, hindsight is 20/20, and sometimes you don't really realize it when you're in that relationship.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, was someone from your family or friends who are telling you like this is not healthy, or did you come to that realization yourself?
No, my friends and family told me that I need to get out, and I chose not to listen. My parents knew about it as well, and my dad many times tried to get me out, and I said, no, I will run away if you try to get me. Because I was trying not to get a divorce. I was trying to fix the marriage because I did, again, love him. And because my friends and family, they were so adamant like of me leaving him and whatnot, I stopped calling them. I stopped telling them anything. I started lying and saying everything's fine when everything wasn't. You learn so much about a person when you're with them and like in everyday life. And it's just like crazy to me because they hide so much through the phone because it was long distance, right?
Oh, so most of your relationship was formed overseas.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I can see that being a barrier to really understanding a person, because it's different when you live with someone versus, you know, you see kind of images or you see them a couple of times or even just dating them. One thing that resonated with me right now is that everyone was telling you that this is not the right relationship for you, but you wanted to stay, and it didn't seem like you wanted to stay because of that person. You wanted to stay because of saving your marriage. Why was that so important for you?
I think I left my job. I left my family. So many things happened after I got married to him. I lost my grandma. I lost my aunt, my dad's sister. Allah yarhamun. And it was a situation where it's just like, my grandma said to me, she said, when you get married, when Maya gets married, she didn't say it to me actually, she said it to relatives, that when Maya gets married and and I see her wearing a white dress, I don't care what happens to me. 12 days after my wedding, she passed. So those are things that I thought about. I thought about how his family came to our wedding from overseas as well, and they all came together for the first time. And they were all there for us. So those things were important to me. A girl getting a divorce as a Arab Middle Eastern girl, it's hard. It's hard to have that title. Whereas guys, it's just easier. You know, it's if they were to get a divorce, it's easier to pick yourself back up and go online and get to know women on the internet or in person.
So you felt the stigma, both culturally as well as just in society, of what a divorced woman would be.
Right. I feel like if I was, let's say, like you told me you're divorced and I wanted to get to know you, it wouldn't bother me, but I feel like guys, it bothers them. That, oh, she's divorced, what did she do? It makes it seem like, oh, what did she get a divorce because she's strong? She's a strong girl? Was she like the man of the relationship? So those are the things that goes through my head.
It's very interesting you say that, because I always say this, like, it really depends on the circle that we're with. Because I've been in different circles within the community, and I've seen what you're talking about, where a lot of times there's so much stigma for every possible thing you can possibly do. Divorce is just like one of them.
Right.
And then you're in different circles and people from the same community, and you see them being a lot more accepting and judgment-free. Do you feel like a lot of it is with the circles you're in, or do you feel like it's just a overall like societal brush, if that makes any sense?
When it comes to divorce.
When it comes to divorce.
No, I feel like it's just a culture thing, like within, especially the Arab culture.
That's very valid, to feel like there is a stigma when you want to make a decision. What made you break through and just decide, like, you know what, this is time to move on?
It was the best feeling leaving. I felt free. Like, I shouldn't have felt that way. You know, it's when you look back and it's like, man, how did I stay in that relationship for so long? I really believe that that person that I chose is going to be my lifetime partner. And when it was becoming that, I felt like, oh my God, this isn't going to work. And I was coming to that realization. I was just like, man, it's how I was thinking is not going to happen. It's just, he's not going to be that person for me. And it took me a long time to realize that that's it. It's done. It took me a long time. It did, like, after I left, it wasn't like, okay, like, you know, it was more so like, alhamdulillah, I was free, but at the same time, I still wanted to work on it. I wanted to see if it could be both ways, but it wasn't. It was just coming from me that we need help and we need to see a therapist. We need to talk about it. We need to figure this out. But it was more so, it was like, no, you're the problem. You need to fix it. You need to change.
Okay, so after you escaped, you still felt the lingering of the toxicity.
Yes.
If I pronounced it right. And
Toxicity.
toxicity, I was like, I'm trying to get the word.
Yeah.
And for you, it wasn't just about escaping and then, oh yeah, I moved on. It was escaping and then still going through a whole healing process.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little more about what steps you took to heal and to recover from the trauma? Because it does sound like it was a very traumatic experience.
Yes. It took me a long time to get over him and the whole situation and trying to understand why I was in that position. You know, when you're married and you have to go back home to your family, as much as I love my parents, it was hard for me to go back to, I was an independent married woman who had her own pantry, her own fridge, her own house, her own schedule. And then you come back home to your parents and it's like, I'm back to square one. I'm back to where I was before I got married. And then it's like, what now? You know, I think a lot of women think like this. We get married, like we want to graduate. We want to get married. We want to have kids. We want to see our kids grow. We want to see our kids graduate, married, and then so on and so forth, right? That wasn't happening for me. It was like a reality check when I came back home. And I did go to therapy. I'd stop therapy. I'd go to therapy. I'd stop therapy. And therapy is important. But for me, I am going to start going to therapy again. But for me, I stopped because I was just like, who are these people I'm talking to? And it's like, where do I start to talk about my situation? And for me, I was having anxiety because I only had 1 hour to talk. I would actually get upset when they'd cut me off and they'd be like, I'm sorry, but your 1 hour is over. And I'm like, I just started talking.
All right.
And I'm talking like I started talking about when I was 13 here. Like we haven't even gotten to the major issues. So for me, it was stress. It was anxiety going to therapy appointments and stuff. But having somebody to talk to is very important. And I did go through it, but my friends were there. My parents were there for me. They were so supportive of, you know, my situation and, you know, finding a job. I traveled a little bit right after. It helped, right? Obviously, I had my ups and downs and everything, but alhamdulillah, like, you know, I had my own photography business. I had my own DJ, my business. And then I started TikTok.
I feel like traveling for you is something therapeutic because you do
It
travel
is.
a lot. And every time I talk to you after your travels,
Yeah.
your energy is just like, you're always, you know, have amazing energy, but I can see it and sense it.
Yeah.
Tell me a little more about your traveling experiences.
Okay. When I travel, I try to find old people.
Okay.
Old people make me happy and emotional.
Well,
I'm
tell
probably
us a
gonna
little
cry
more
right
about
now.
that.
I'm all about culture. And I was very close to both my grandmas, Allah yarhamun.
Allah yarhamhum.
And I regret not getting to know my grandmas like from their past. I was just living in the time we were living and laughing, joking, getting to know them like from everyday life, but I never asked them questions about their past, about how they grew up and the things they used to do. Whereas now when I sit with older people, I like to hear their stories. And like there's some people in Lebanon, for example, like the older people. There were some that I used to visit every time I went, and they died, they passed away, Allah yarhamun. But I did listen to stories from the past, and it's like, man, how we're living now is just not the same. They had it hard. They saw so much, and a lot of people know about this stuff.
What do you learn from these stories? Like, what is your takeaway?
Like I said, that they lived a hard life, and we don't value that. We don't appreciate what our parents, what our grandparents, great grandparents went through, right? And that's something that's important. If your grandparents are still alive, we need to get to know them. We need to learn about them. And I don't have my grandparents, but I just go and ask other people's grandparents.
I love that.
And get to know them and sit
Yeah.
with them and look at pictures. And I was just in Alabama, and I went to go visit my friend's grandma, Siti Nelly, if you're watching. And I was looking at her house, and I was like, man, this is so, like, the smell, everything she had in her house was just so refreshing. It was just so, it reminded me of my grandma's. And it was, I thought it was beautiful. I know I'm being very, like, serious and stuff, but it's something, if your grandparents are still alive, you guys should really, really get to know them, appreciate what they have at home. They have old like, things in there, like pictures and things
They have
that
history.
exactly.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that you're able to find a sense of comfort by talking to people who are, of a different generation.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like it's also a way for you to connect with your own grandparents who you dearly love. What is the best piece of advice Maya Hussein has ever received?
Okay, so I do say this a lot,
Okay.
this piece of advice to a lot of people, especially people who are having children nowadays in Canada or America. When you have children and you can speak Arabic, why are you not teaching your children the Arabic language? Why? Why is it that when you can say a sentence in Arabic or 2 words, when they grow up as babies, they'll know 1 or 2 words at first, and then it becomes 3, becomes 10, and more. When your kids are growing up in a country where the main language is English, you know that they're going to learn English eventually. So why are we losing our language? It drives me crazy that, and I'm not judging, but for me, it's because, inshallah, when I have kids, they will only speak Arabic at home. Because I know when they go to school, they're going to learn English. And I have to continue speaking Arabic at home so that language can stay there. And I appreciate my mom and my dad, you guys are number one, for letting me speak only Arabic at home. Because
you got to preserve that language.
exactly. And Henny, one thing I want to tell you, there's a lot of people who I know speak fluently. Even in Lebanon now we're talking. And I speak to them in Arabic, they'll answer in English. And I'm thinking, why? But you're speaking English, you speak Arabic fluently. So why are you answering to me in English? Like, for me, I speak Arabic at home still to keep it strong.
Okay, so for you, the one piece of advice you want to tell everybody, don't forget your roots and your culture, whether you speak Arabic or, let's say, French or whatever.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Speak to your children. Keep that language alive. We're losing it.
At the end, we just like to ask you to just say the last few words to the audience. What would you like to tell them? You can tell them where to follow you. You can give them a last message. Up to you.
Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you again for having me on your show. Everybody who's been following me on social media, I appreciate your support. I love you guys all. Inshallah, I'll have merch coming out with Bella. And if you don't follow me, go to my Instagram. It's Maya Hussein. And on TikTok, it's Maya Hussein _. I'm saying my name in Arabic.
Good.
Did you
As
hear
you
that?
should. I love
People
it.
call me Maya, but it's in Arabic, it's Maya. So,
Maya. Don't forget to follow Maya Hussein.
and make sure you guys follow Yalla Let's Talk because
Yes.
honestly, Hani is the most down to earth person you'll ever meet, and his team is the best.
Woohoo!
Love
Shout
these
out to
guys.
Hazm Productions and Sulaiman.
Woo!
Yeah. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Please do not forget to subscribe to Yalla Let's Talk. Drop us a good comment, rate us 5 stars. Hashtag Yalla Bye.